Hello, my name is Matias 209015, for the presentation on the Assessment 4 authentication process. The content will have first a introduction, aims and objectives, then major points and ideas explained and summarized, the results, related points and issues, and conclusion, future work. As an introduction and objectives, we'll determine authentication requirements. Determine users and enterprise security requirements with reference to enterprise security plan. Identify and analyze authentication options according to user and enterprise requirements. And select the most appropriate authentication and authorization processes. Authentication. In computers, authentication refers to the process or action of authenticating a user's or process's identity. User authentication guarantees that the person using the device is recognized by the firm. VPN stands for Virtual Private Network, and it is a network system that uses methods to construct secure point-to-point or site-to-site connections in routed or bridged setups, as well as remote access capabilities. It can run both client and server applications. Biometric data. The biometric data comprises a unique secret key for each user, which is set in the authentication server's database. Digital certificate. A digital certificate is a digital credential that ties the certificate holder's identity to cryptographic keys, either public or private. KAs or certificate authorities create these certificates. Digital certificates with unique digital signatures are combined with public keys. Passwords. You prove your identity by typing a secret password. The system then tests what you type to see if you know the secret or not. Personal identification numbers, or PINs. A personal identification number, often known as PIN number, is a numeric or alphanumeric passcode used to authenticate a user's accessing a system. Smart cards. Smart cards are similar to ordinary cards, the same size and made of the same plastic material, but they contain a memory chip in a contact pad. The touchpad with the integrated memory chip serves as the foundation for a smart card transaction. Biometric devices. In addition to security, convenience has been a driving force for biometric verification, as there are no passwords to memorize or security tokens to carry. Some biometric approaches, such as gait analysis, can function without direct interaction with the individual being validated. Secure Remote Password Protocol. A CRP is a Secure Enhanced Password Authenticated Key Agreement, or PAKE, protocol that addresses the issue of safely transferring secrets over an insecure network. It is a zero-knowledge proof protocol that allows clients to securely authenticate to the server without requiring the server to maintain password equivalent information, hash version. Protocol for carrying authentication for network access. PANA, Protocol for carrying authentication for network access, is an IP-based protocol that enables a device to authenticate itself with a network in order to get access to it. PANA will not specify any protocol for authentication, key distribution, key agreement, or key derivation. Password Authenticated Key Agreement, PAKE, technique for establishment cryptography keys between two or more parties based on one or more sides' knowledge of a password. Challenge Handshake Authentication Protocol, or CHAP, is a more secure procedure for connecting to a system than the Password Authentication Procedure, or PAP. Here's how CHAP works. After the link is made, the server sends a challenge message to the connection requester. The requester responds with a value obtained by using a one-way hash function. The server checks the response by comparing its own calculation of the expected hash value. If the values match, the authentication is acknowledged. Otherwise, the connection is usually terminated. The Password Authentication Protocol, PAP, is a basic user authentication protocol that does not encrypt data or delivers the password and username as plain text to the authentication server. Password authentication protocol is extremely vulnerable to being read from data packets transmitted between the authentication server and the user's workstation through the point-to-point protocol, or PPP. Remote authentication dial in user service radius authentication. The remote authentication dial in user service radius network protocol protects networks from illegal access. Radius protects a network by allowing centralized authentication of dial-in users and approving their use of network services. But the results are related points and issues. We see the configuration for the username and administration and the secret for password. It configures a user account name administration1 or R1 as an example with their password. And for the authentication login, default local and a new model and a line console, which also a IP domain name and the crypto key RSA. Either have to choose the size of the key modulus in the range of 360 to 2048 for the general purpose key. Choosing a key modulus greater than 520 may take a few more minutes. This is the same as just before, with the percentage of generating 1024-bit RSA keys, and the keys will be non-exportable. The authentication login and the transport input SSH. The authorized access only. The unauthorized access to device is prohibited, of course, as for protection measures. And again, the username and the password for verification. As a conclusion and future work, we'll have to configure local AAA authentication for console access on R1, configure local AAA authentication for VTY lines on R1, configure server-based AAA authentication using TACACS Plus on R2, and configure server-based AAA authentication using Radius on R3. And that's my presentation. Thank you very much for listening.